What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astro DFS bringing you another video. Today's video, I'm going over Week 5's Thursday night showdown between the Colts and the Denver Broncos. Now, this video is going up on Wednesday, so there's still injury news that we're waiting to see on. Jonathan Taylor, Russell Wilson, and I think Melvin Gordon are the three top guys that we're looking for as far as injury. Taylor and Wilson are being the biggest two that are very questionable. Taylor is honestly a toss up right now. Yet again, this is Wednesday. This is not Thursday. I do not have the practice up, anything like that. It's just going based off of up until Wednesday of Jonathan Taylor not practicing, and Russell Wilson being limited. So this slate, this showdown is not pretty. This is not one of those games to where you're having a hard time figuring out who pops off for the most points. This is one where you're just trying to find anybody that gets points, in my opinion. And you go down like the defenses at 42 and 3,400. I mean, that's pretty much it. Both teams do not look good. See Denver trying to get some yards. The Colts just being overall, that offense is, I don't know what is going on. It is the most random offense I've ever seen, to where you would think Matt Ryan with a good offensive line, Jonathan Taylor, a number one receiver in Michael Pittman. I like Alec Pierce a lot. I like Jelani Woods. Like, and Mo Alley Cox, who's playing good too, but I mean, they just look overall bad. There is not one thing that looks good on that team. Not Jonathan Taylor, not the offensive line, not Matt Ryan. Michael Pittman might be the only good thing out of that offense. On the contrary, I mean, you look at Russell Wilson, it's not pretty. 4 touchdowns in 4 games with this Denver offense. And yet again, you get Courtland Sutton, you get Jerry Jeudy. You get who we thought Albert O would be a tight end taking that next step. But it just, last week against Vegas, a very bad secondary. They still lose the game, but you get 27 points out of Russell Wilson. And then we go look at someone like Matt Ryan. I mean, the amount of fumbles that this guy has is incredible. And it's not from getting hit most of the time. It's from him just not controlling the ball at the snap. So let's go over the prices really quick and then start going into who I like. So on DraftKings, you get Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Russell Wilson, Matt Ryan, Courtland Sutton, Melvin Gordon, Jerry Jeudy, Hines, boom. So it's almost similar on Fanduel. I think they got it pretty close, but on Fanduel, you get Russell Wilson, Matt Ryan, then Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Courtland Sutton, Melvin Gordon, Jerry Jeudy, Hines, and then you start getting to the defenses. On DraftKings, you get Alec Pierce, newly signed Latavius Murray, who had a good week for the Saints last week, Mo Alley Cox, Doolin, Hamler, defenses, kickers. On FanDuel, I mean, you get Mike Boone after McManus, Mo Alley Cox after McLaughlin, Alec Pierce, Phillip Lindsay down there at 7,500 is interesting, Albert O. And then you start to get to the tight ends, Granson, Albert O, Woods, Saubert. So what stands out to me is the Colts passing offense, and more importantly, the tight end. I feel like the tight end is what is going to be the random play this week on that showdown that probably is going to have the winner in it. And with these teams, you never know who's going to go off. So you look at Mo Alley Cox, and I mean, for the Colts, he's probably the guy that's going to get the most targets, most snaps. 2 touchdowns last week, 26.5 fantasy point game. We go and look at Kylan Granson. I mean, you look at what his targets are this year. He's right there with Mo Alley Cox as far as targets and probably getting more consistent points. But, I mean, still, it's not points. And then you go look at Jelani Woods, 3 targets, 13 yards, 2 touchdowns against Kansas City. So they've had 2 weeks with a different tight end getting 2 touchdowns. And then you look at Denver. You look at Albert O. I mean, he's got 10 targets. He's only got 4 in the last 3 weeks, though. And then you go look at Saubert. He's also getting targets. Beck was used week 1 against Seattle, but we haven't seen it. So the tight end to me is what is just going to be so confusing on this slate. You get newly brought up Philip Lindsay with the Colts, who, if I had to guess, is probably going to get some work. I know Deion Jackson is being talked about. We'll see how that goes, though. If Jonathan Taylor's out, Philip Lindsay at 400. I'd see who starts taking snaps at these practices, whether it's Lindsay or Jackson. I'm going to assume they go Philip Lindsay. He's got that experience. And if Lindsay does, in fact, end up being the running back 1 or 2, depending on what they do with Hines, I think Hines is a very good play off Taylor. If Taylor's out, 6,800, gets a lot of targets. That's why I like him. He's their receiving backs, get you those PPR, and against this Denver defense, that's something that's probably good. They're probably not going to be able to run the greatest, so that's there for me. But yeah, Philip Lindsay, $400. If he ends up taking snaps, $400 is a great pay down for that. Like, that's a great value, a guy that you want. We start to look at the defenses of the kickers, and these are the guys that interest me the most, or pieces to put in your lineup, just because the defenses are 11 guys and not just one. But the kickers defenses are very interesting to me at this point. I think if you go a receiver from each team, you're going to want Michael Pittman. He's just overall the best receiver on that team. That Denver secondary is developing really well. I like the way that they're playing. And on the Denver side, it's Jerry Jeudy's got to be probably the only good matchup on the slate, going against Kenny Moore. And Jerry Jeudy's pretty much that slot guy for the most part. But that's it. I mean, this is not a pretty slate at all. I mean, even on both sides, if you look, like, there's not a lot of value plays down here at all. Like, Fanduel is a little more rough. You start getting to Hinton, you get back Woods, those tight ends. Like, even Philip Lindsay is more expensive than some of these guys that have been playing. Yeah, overall, it's going to be a rough one. I'm not going to say it's going to be pretty. If it ends up being a high-scoring game, that would not surprise me with the way the NFL goes this year, of 2 teams that should hit the under, banged up defenses going to outperform the offenses, and then for some reason it goes over. You go a quarterback, at this point I go Russell Wilson. Shaq Leonard seems to be out. DeForest Buckner going to be in and playing a majority of the snaps. I know he was on a snap count just because he was banged up. So I don't think Denver runs the ball that efficiently. If Russell Wilson is cleared to go, which I imagine he will be, he's probably the quarterback I want. Matt Ryan, I mean, you look, he's got 1 more touchdown than Russell Wilson, but he's also got 5 interceptions. He's also got 9 fumbles, even though he's only lost 3. It's still 9. That Denver rush is pretty good, especially with Bradley Chubb leading the way there. But, I mean, you look at his pass attempts, and it's not like Matt Ryan isn't throwing the ball. Like, he's throwing the ball a lot. It's just they really don't get points until the second half. That's just the theme of this Colts team right now, is pretty much second half. But you see Matt Ryan start to get those fantasy points, 16, 22, 20. They get shut out 4.8. Russell Wilson, like I said, probably a better matchup. They're not going to be able to run the ball as efficiently. But I'd go Russ over Matt Ryan just because of how just shitty that Colts offensive front has looked. As far as running backs, Taylor's in. I guess you go Taylor. If Taylor's out, you look at Hines and you look at Phillip Lindsay. Phillip Lindsay 7,500 and Hines 11. So Hines isn't as discounted as we like on Fanduel or DraftKings for that matter. We start going wide receivers. Pittman is probably the only Colts wide receiver I'd go for. Jerry Jeudy is, as of right now, the wide receiver that I want for Denver. And then tight ends is honestly just going to be a real toss-up if you play a tight end in your lineup. The defenses and the kickers are what interests me the most. Probably going to have more ownership on them than majority of the slates of a primetime slate, just because, in my opinion, it's going to be a very shitty. Any points that are scored are going to be earned, or there's going to be a miscommunication, something like that. It's seeming like both defenses are going to lead the way in this game. So both sides, it's not pretty. It's not pretty at all. So it's going to be a lineup where you have to get pretty creative with spending your money. Watch the injury news. Melvin Gordon, Russell Wilson, Jonathan Taylor, 3 of the biggest names. Like no one else down here is playable. That's questionable. And if Russell Wilson's out for Denver, you're looking Ripon or Johnson. I'd probably say Josh Johnson just because we've seen him get experience being a quarterback. So if Wilson's out for whatever reason, even if Josh Johnson's in, it's not the greatest matchup. We've seen when he's capable of doing it, and he is capable of putting up points and fantasy points for his team. So look at that. Latavius Murray is another option at running back. I know a lot of people are on Boone. Latavius Murray just had a good week, so we'll see what that looks like as well. So hope you guys did enjoy the video. Hope it helps. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like and subscribe. I'm going to try to make as much content as I can based off my work schedule. Sometimes it doesn't allow me to, and I do apologize for that. I will have a video going out. I think Monday is probably going to be the next video going out. I did the main slate, so if you guys want to get a view at that, just go look at my first look. That's probably going to be the only video I could put out, and I apologize for it. If you guys are interested in joining us for a very cheap subscription package, just click the link in the description down below. Like I said, it's very cheap for what we give out. It's very cheap, so hope you guys are interested in that. Like I said, the link for that will be in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one.